this chapter is actually pretty short and pretty straightforward when you set up your inventory. Now with this one, we talked about chapter 7, which we got to create our items. And creating our inventory items is essentially a part of creating your part itself, right? So again, we're going to be looking at how to create an inventory item and how to use it in multiple ways. So you can actually use this item as a 3-part way, right? And if you keep reading it, it will tell you that one inventory part is actually linked to 3 specific accounts. It's linked to your purchases, so your asset account. So every time you make purchases of inventory, it's going to increase it, right? And then the second thing is it's going to be linked to a cost of goods sold. So if you sell that product, you're going to have to remove it from your company based on the amount that you actually originally purchased it for, hence cost of goods sold. And then lastly, the last account that you're going to be associating it with the inventory part is that you're obviously going to sell the item. So it's going to be linked to a revenue or income account. So this is going to be very interesting and very fun. So we're going to go ahead and look at chapter 8. So for those who are following along with me, you're going to be opening inventory 18. QuickBooks portable file. Okay, so I've already done that already, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that it's going to say is tools for tracking the inventory. So this one's very important because when we learn in accounting, there are 2 tracking methods that exist in accounting. All right. First one's called periodic, and the other one's called perpetual, okay? So by accounting students from the previous class, can you tell me what the difference between periodic and perpetual is?
Periodic is every now and again, perpetual is consistently.
Yes, okay? QuickBooks, okay, will be defaulted and will only use perpetual inventory. So again, every time we create an inventory part, it's already linked to 3 accounts: your asset, your cost of goods sold, and your revenue/income, right? So with that being said, every time you make a purchase of inventory, QuickBooks is automatically going to update it. Every time you sell an item, right, it uses the sales, but it also takes away your inventory as soon as you sell it. So for this one, it will always be using the perpetual inventory tracking, okay? However, I will introduce you to a little concept that's kind of similar to periodic tracking method, okay? So that's the first thing, is you need to know that every time you make a purchase, every time you make a sale, QuickBooks will automatically do it behind the scenes. You're not going to physically see it. It's going to calculate it for you automatically when you link those accounts, okay? So with that being said, next thing is going to be, as we look through here, is what kind of costing method does QuickBooks use, okay? So we'll talk briefly about that when we reach that little section, but it does use average costing, all right? And we'll talk a little more about that when we get to that section. So you guys are going to be introducing to what's called an inventory center, all right? So this is turning on your inventory, which we've already done before. You guys are going to be introducing to what's called an inventory center. Now, in QuickBooks 2018, if you guys downloaded the program, you guys actually have the inventory center. In QuickBooks 2019, it actually gets eliminated. We don't have an inventory center because actually what happened is because you can have all your inventory items, right, under your items list, and it keeps track of it for you, right, with the account balances, there's no need to have an inventory center anymore because essentially it's more cluttering for the actual program. So they eliminated it in 2019. So, but that doesn't mean you can still do the same things. However, if you guys are being tested for the 2018, which you guys are for the certification, know that practice this part here. You guys will have an inventory center. Okay, so here's a little quick snapshot of what it looks like. It pretty much lists out all of the items that exist that you sell in particularly, and et cetera, et cetera. It gives you just pretty much an overview of your items and what they are for. And again, we can also do that by going to the items list. All right. So this talks briefly exactly about what items it's going to be entailed in regards to this. So here it's going to ask us to actually create an inventory part item. So again, I don't have an inventory center. However, I can go ahead and click my item list and I could go ahead and click new item. Okay. Now, once you get here, of course, you have your other items in here. Now, this is where I'm going to talk to you guys about the difference between an inventory part and a non-inventory part. Okay. An inventory part is what you most frequently keep track of. And this is where the fine line between QuickBooks and accounting concepts kind of blur. Here, when you are trying to keep track of your inventory item and you want to frequently make notes and constantly update it and do reports on it, you want to use an inventory part or something that you frequently sell often. So in this case, we often mostly sell our picture frames because we have bundles, which we'll talk about in a second. Or when you're a photography kind of company, you do want to frame your photos. So that's going to be something that we frequently purchase, but it's also something that we frequently sell. Okay. For items that we don't really care too much about or that we don't sell as often, that's where you're going to indicate that that's going to be a non-inventory item. Okay, so in accounting perspective, right, we treat this as, do you keep track of it? Do you care to keep track of it? And how often do you keep track of it? So this is where I'm telling you guys, you're going to treat a non-inventory item as if it was a periodic inventory. Something that you don't really care about. You don't care about keeping track of the sales for it. You don't care about how many items you have left in your inventory because it's not something you often sell. So that is the difference between an inventory part and a non-inventory part. It's basically how often you sell the item, okay? And in Academy Photography, your cameras, right? You don't sell that very often. It's only, you sell maybe like, I believe you sell like one camera every month, I believe. So that's why we created a non-inventory part for that specific camera, okay? For the camera SR, whatever it's called. And that's an example of how we use the non-inventory part when you set it up, okay? But in this case, our book is going to actually show us, well, let's go ahead and set up our inventory part. So if we look again at our items list, right, we actually have quite a few items that are considered to be your inventory parts. So as you can see, it is going to be in order by part or by, item type. So as you can see, your inventory parts are going to be it's going to be your picture frames, your lenses and camera. Oh, okay, I see here. It's the photo paper that's going to be non-inventory. Okay. And other things like that. Okay. So we do actually have a few already set up for us. However, we're going to go ahead and insert a new one because we're going to practice utilizing this item so we can, make our purchase orders of inventory and see how we use this item in multiple forms. Okay. So here we are in the new item setup. We're going to go ahead and select inventory part. Once we do that, our little thing to fill out has the associated parts I was talking about. How much is it going to cost you to buy it? How much did it cost you to sell it? How much are you going to sell it for? Okay, so in this case, I believe our item that we're going to be selling is going to be our 5x7 wooden frame. Or wood frame. I think is it wooden or wood? It doesn't matter. 5x7 wood frame. Okay. Your description here is going to be whatever you want to title it. In this case, I'm going to say a 5x7 wooden picture frame, right? Pretty self-explanatory. Here, you can be very specific on what color it is, etc., etc. It's just right now, I'm just going to do just a really small, whatever it says in the book. All right. So here you have options to create sub-items. Now, sub-items, this is where you can break down an item down to its even more further items. So for example, if I have this one, right? I have a 5x7 wooden frame. If I were to create a sub-item under this, right? I could say this one is made out of oak wood. This one is made out of cherry wood. This one's made out of, what is it? What's it called? Plaster or laminate, right? Fake wood. Right? I can break it down to even further for every single item that I do sell. And if I want to be specific, I can create sub-items based on color. So example, I can say light oak, dark oak, medium oak. Okay? So etc., etc. So that's what sub-items is for. In this case, this is not a sub-item. It's a main item that we're going to sell. All right? Another things that you can also fill in is there is a little section that says there's a manufacturing part number. Now, this only applies if you'd like to have specific coding for your items that you sell. For example, iPhones, right? If you are in if you're Apple, right? Every single iPhone has a serial number attached to the back of the phone. I don't remember what it is. Inside, when you turn on the iOS in your settings, it tells you the exact ID serial number, or also known as the manufacturing number that comes with that part. So that makes that piece, that number unique. All right? And this one typically, every single item that you purchase from any type of vendor, if you're not the one that's producing it, you will have a manufacturing item number. Now it's up to you if you want to release it. Again, if you don't really care because all of these parts are going to be the same, then it's not necessary for you to actually fill in. It's only if you want to be more detailed into specifics of which exact picture frame you sold to a customer. All right. So in this case, I'm gonna skip that part and move on to my next part. So then they have a little description here, one that goes on to your vendors list, and one side's gonna go to your customers list. Now, So this one is specifically to your purchase orders, and this one is specifically to your customers when you sell it. So again, these are pre-made descriptions. So when you fill out every single form, it will pull this piece of information out here. So you can have it reflect differently if you want your vendors to know the specific one that you want to, but you don't want your customers to know. This is where you can edit that information. In this case, I don't care. So first thing it's going to say is, well, how much did it cost you to purchase each picture frame? I believe this was $5. Okay. Now it's going to ask you which cost of goods sold are you going to associate this account with. As you can see, it's already been pre-selected as cost of goods sold. So if you are specific on the picture frame itself, you may actually have a sub account under that says cost of goods sold picture frame, right? If you want to keep very close track of individually items that you sell. Okay, again, it's unnecessary because QuickBooks actually does it for you. It categorizes every single thing for you based on what item, and it uses it and organizes it for you. So you don't need to be super specific when it comes to accounts, right? It does the report for you, right? Preferred vendor. If there's a preferred vendor that you always constantly purchase from, and it's the same person, then you may do so here. So then every time you pop up this person's information, it's going to automatically associate that you're probably going to be purchasing one of these items. So in this case, Ace Supply is going to be my preferred vendor. Now, if you're the kind of person who's kind of testing your vendors to see which person produces the best product for you, you don't need to fill this part out. Okay, it's just whatever preferred vendor you want to choose. Okay, so the next section underneath is what account do you want to indicate, or where do you want this account to place once you made your purchase orders. In this particular account, it already selected inventory asset. Since I am buying an inventory part, my inventory, pretty much I only have one account for it. I didn't make a specific account on every single item I actually sell. So in this case, I'm going to dump it into my inventory asset account. Okay. Now the next question here is going to ask you is, well, when do you want a reorder to happen? Okay. So this is where QuickBooks also lets you, it also notifies you when your inventory status or your inventory amount is low. So it will set reminders for you. So if you read the book, you can learn how to set the reminders for it. But by saying, remind me when my inventory assets, when I only have about 20 on hand, okay, then or 20 picture frames left, I want you to notify me to reorder more. That's what this section is right here. Okay, so I want to make sure if I get down to 20 picture frames, I want to be notified that I need to make more purchases. Okay. Now the next section right here is going to be something that you're going to utilize when you are starting a company file and you are a pre-existing company that's been doing open for a while and you have account balances. So with that being said, this is just for that specific part only. If you have pre-existing inventory and you're using QuickBooks to organize your accounting, this is where you could set up that I have 10 items and right now they cost me, $50 right now in my inventory assets. Okay, so this one we're going to leave blank because we're going to start fresh and start new, right? Last section here on the right is going to ask you how much are you going to be setting the price for each item that you're going to sell. In this case, I'm selling these picture frames for $5.99, meaning I want a 100% profit. Okay? If I paid $5 for it, I'm doubling it up to make sure that I get a 100% profit. Okay, so I'm charging double the price than what I paid for it. Okay, so because this, I can also choose, since this is an actual product, and you are selling it, you are mandated to have it taxed. So yes, you can toggle this, of course, on whatever tax items you want to have it as. In this case, it's going to be taxed at a regular tax level. Okay, and you're gonna also associate what account this is for. So in this case, it's going to be for sales. Okay, so here I've set up and I linked this one particular item with 3 accounts. Okay, I have an expense account, which is my cost of goods sold. I have my inventory asset account, which is an asset. I have my sales account, which is a revenue. So every time I use this particular item, I'm either going to increase my inventory, decrease my inventory, and also increase my sales. So that is what this does behind the scenes. You need to have these accounts set up before you can create this inventory part. Okay, so in this case, I have finished my inventory part and I'm going to go click OK. So now I have it right there on, as my inventory part right there as my 5x7 wooden frames. Okay. All right, and that's how you set up an inventory item. Yes, we've done this before. We set up a service item. We set up a camera. We've done this before. Now, this is how we're going to utilize this inventory item and use it for a purchase order or for a sale for a sale to a customer. So here, as you can see at the very top, you got your purchase orders right here in this top window right here. So yes, it's going to be associated with your vendors, right? Because that's where you're buying all your stuff from. Now, there are 2 ways you could do purchase orders, okay? And we'll talk about the difference between them. And I'm going to show, I won't show you the second way, but I will talk about it, okay? So the first one that they want you to see is they want you to know that when you use QuickBooks to keep track of your items, right? The best way for QuickBooks to utilize as well as maximize the items and keep really good track of it is to use their purchase order system, okay? So you're going to use the purchase orders here. You're going to receive the items, then you're going to receive the bill, okay? They would want you to maximize QuickBooks by using their purchase orders icon or their purchase order transaction, okay? Second way is if you're the kind that goes to the store and you pay the person, hey, I want these items. Can you ship it to my store? I pay you cash right now. Just ship it to me. And it just shows up to your door. That is where we're going to talk about adjusting inventory. All right. And actually we do get to see it in today's lecture as well. We're going to see if you do have those purchases, what you're going to do is you're going to update your inventory manually. Now, once you do it manually, then when you do your sales, of course, it's going to automatically take it right out. So that you don't have to worry too much about. You just have to manually update your inventory when you make your purchases. And that one is usually you pay by credit card, check, or whatever. You just simply write a check and place it in there, all right? And we've seen the check register before, all right? I'll show you real quick when you go to the check register, okay? I'm sorry, wrong one. To the write a checks with option, okay? You have this little section right here. You have expenses and you have items. You can actually list your inventory part items. So let's say I bought my 5x7 wooden frames. By doing this, I'm going to associate that I paid for these inventory items. But I need to make sure when I click that OK button that that I check my inventory to make sure that it actually transferred in there. So that's what you can do if you plan to not use the purchase order system, and let's say you made the purchase order outside the store, using another vendor that isn't using the purchase orders. Okay, yes, you can itemize it and you can order it through here and pay for it right away. Okay, that's one option, and I'm clicking no. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to utilize the purchase order, and then we'll go on break and we'll go from there, okay? So obviously, I'm going to go ahead and create my purchase order. You have it on your home page, as you can see here. You should have it also on your vendors as well, to create your purchase orders right here, create purchase orders. You should also have it on your inventory, your vendor center as well, right? You have your transactions. You can create your purchase orders here. Right click on a vendor and create a purchase order. Okay, and you can also do manage transactions to create your purchase orders there as well. Okay, purchase orders. Okay. I don't believe, let me see, where's my income tracker? Okay, income tracker, let's see. No, you don't have your purchase orders here. So I knew this one for sure. Didn't have it. That's why I was questioning it. So income tracker does not have it, but it does allow you to, wait, I'm in the wrong one. I said income tracker. I meant bill tracker. Bill tracker. Wait, I didn't click my bill tracker. There you go. Bill tracker, manage transactions. Yes, you can actually create your purchase orders. So for, you can, yeah. Because you're essentially going to create a bill. However, the only thing that you don't have is if you do create your purchase orders, you're not going to be able to receive your inventory for it. You can create it here, but you cannot receive your inventory through here. All right, and we'll talk about that we'll talk about receiving inventory and what options you have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close all my windows. So here, again, Max, you can go to the vendor center. You have 3 ways you can enter in a purchase order. New transactions, right click, or manage transactions. Okay, and you also have it on the vendor's menu bar, right? But I'm going to go ahead and close all that. So this is the one that I've pulled up from the home page. So, again, we're going to go ahead and place in our vendor, which was Ace Supply. All right. Class is going to be Walnut Creek. And this is just a purchase order. So, it's just a purchase order. So you don't really need a specific, what do you call it? A specific purchase order template or anything like that. So that one's fine. Okay. So again, it says December 7 of 2020. I believe it's supposed to be, we're making this changes for April. Am I right? I think I typed in something. There you go. Walnut.
Yes, it says April 7.
April 7. So exactly April 2019. April 7, 2019. Perfect. Okay. Now, purchase orders, you definitely want to make sure you keep track of them because, or you definitely want to make some kind of invoice purchase order number so that you can associate it when you actually receive your bill and your inventory. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to do 2019 1. All right. Shipping address is all fine, right? You're shipping it to you from them, okay? And now it's going to be for the items that you want to actually purchase. So in this case, I want to purchase a 5x7. Oh, wow, I misspelled that. Wood frame. That's going to annoy me. I'll fix it right now, actually. Okay. Okay. Then we want also a 5x7 metal frame. Okay. So as you can see, it's already been when in the description. This is what I wanted to display on my purchase orders and whatnot. Okay. So then my quantity for my wooden frames, I believe I want 40 of them, and I want 20 metal frames. Okay. And then as you can see, because I associated that every wooden frame is going to cost me $5 and every metal frame is going to cost me $2.15. So again, if for any reason your vendor decides to charge you a higher price for it, or they quote you differently, you can always change this right here to whatever price per unit price it is. Okay, so it's not that you have to set it or anything. You can always change it. And what's going to happen is it's going to automatically calculate it right here in your amounts. So what you're going to do is you're going to verify that you're going to be receiving 40 wooden frames as well as 20 metal frames. You want to send a message to your vendor. What do we have here? Not really anything. Memo. I'm just going to... Nothing. I'm going to put purchase 40 wood and 20 metal. Frames. Okay. Well, and then once I've done that, right, in this case, my vendor, okay, vendor to customer relationship is that they are not going to charge me sales tax for this. So I'm going to go ahead and click save and close. All right. If they do, make sure you put a line item for the tax that they do charge you for. Okay. It's really depending on the person or the vendor that you have a relationship with. If they charge you sales tax regardless of whatever you purchase, then that could be something that you may want to note. 5x7. Okay, frame 5x7 wood. Okay. So now I made changes to that name. So now it looks like that. Okay. So now that I've made a purchase order, okay, and this is what I teach in the accounting class is if you are the inventory manager, your best bet is you need to keep track of every purchase order that you send out and make sure that you verify it with every single bill that's associated to it. You never want to send a bunch of purchase orders and expect whatever to arrive, because sometimes you're so busy that you might forget that, oh, wow, I didn't know I ordered this. Right? So you want to make sure that you keep track of your stuff and make sure that you actually have enough money to making those purchases. So here I'm going to go ahead and click purchases, and I could do purchase by vendor, purchase by item. I can also look at pretty much my purchase orders, open purchase orders by job, by detail. So I'm going to do by detail. Okay, as you can see, here's a purchase order that I just sent in on April 7th, 2019 to Ace Supply, right? It's an open invoice requesting 20 of the wooden frames and 20 of the metal frames and 40 of the wooden frames. So here gives you pretty much a detail and keeps track of your purchase orders and what has come, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and close that report. Okay? So Right now it's 9:50. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to see, well, what happens when I receive my inventory items, okay? There are two things that you're going to see. So let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break. So we'll stop here, and please be back by no later than 10:06 or 10:05.